Anyway, I only had one last topic, and this one I didn't prep you for.
Oh boy,
So it's going to be a loaded question for you.
I don't like the low questions.
So you remember when Black Panther came out or was starting to do its promotional run for release, and there was the Marvel campaign, right? And then there was like the Black Twitter campaign. So like Marvel was like, all right, we're gonna put out some trailers, we're gonna do the normal marketing routine, and then Black Twitter was like, we're gonna put on dashikis, I'm
Oh yeah,
bringing
yeah,
chitlins, we
yeah.
bringing candy in. This is a
Right,
black
right, right.
event. And then Black Panther turned out to break all sorts of box office records, and I would give more credit to Black Twitter than to
Sure.
what Marvel did.
We made it an event.
So with that said, Black Panther 2 is coming out this year.
Mm-hmm.
I have a real question. Is Black Panther, is Wakanda Forever anticipated? Like, is this a movie we're looking for? Should we expect box office numbers like the first movie for a Black Panther 2? Is this
Yes, no, yes. No, yes. I mean, look, is it anticipated? Yes. A lot of people are anticipating it. Fandango did a huge poll, and it was like the number one thing that was anticipated, right? And that's great. Um, why it's anticipated, I think, is what the real question is. You know, it's not that it is anticipated, it's why. Personally, it's not my highest. It's not even on my top 10 of most anticipated movies, but you know, hashtag recast T'Challa. But the why is probably the most interesting thing. And I did my own poll through a third party entity, just, you know, so there was no bias involved. And in that poll, over 2,000 people weighed in. Actually, it was over like 2,500. And the reason why they were excited, we asked a couple questions. Yo, was it exploring more Wakanda, Shuri, or somebody else taking the mantle? Was it Namor, or was it how are you going to deal with T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman? Like, what are you going to do?
Mhm.
And the most interesting thing about this was the least interesting thing that people were interested in was exactly what Marvel wants to push. Marvel wanted to push exploring Wakanda. That was the least on everyone's list. Marvel wants to elevate, you know, Shuri as the next Black Panther. That was second to last on the list. Yeah, there was anticipation for Namor or whatever, but number one thing people were wanting to see is how are y'all about to navigate this movie without the lead actor? What are you going to do to tribute to Chadwick? And you know, what are you going to do? That's what they want to see. So when you ask, is this like anticipated? I ask like, well, you know, is like what it is, but like for what? You know, and I don't think it's for the same reasons. Like I don't think that you're going to get the same box office that you got last time. Last time we got 1.3 billion. A lot of that was due to repeat viewings. You know, people buying out
Yeah,
theaters,
absolutely.
people bringing their grandma, people buying out stuff like me. You know, I bought out a
Yeah.
theater. You know, I don't know if you're going to get that same sentiment, especially since right now you still have a growing sentiment of people that are like, yo, whatever you do, don't go killing this character. You know, because like, why would you rush to the theater to go see something traumatic like that? Why do you want to go? Because Black Panther, the first movie, was more of a celebration. It was a dope conversation. It was a really cool phenomenon. Now it's like, let's hurt. You know, so I would say the Black Panther, the first movie, was a good coming out party, right? It was like, yo,
Mhm.
homecoming, y'all. We in here. This one is like a funeral. Like, do you want to rush to a funeral? Do you want to stay for the party favors for a funeral? Do you want to linger for a funeral? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not the same feeling. So
So
I think some people are gonna force it. Don't get me wrong. Some people are gonna be like, yo, we're gonna do it because we want to have a tradition, but I don't think you're going to get the same level of participation And that is the only reason I think that the box office numbers might not be the same. I don't see it breaking those pre-sale records that it did before. And even if it did, even if it does, because there's always initial hype, I don't know if it can beat the second movie. You'll get a good amount. I think it'll make 800 million. You know, I think
800?
it'll hit that, but I don't
I'm-
know, man. I don't know.
You know, I fall in this category of people that's just waiting and seeing, because it's so many.
I don't think you're alone in that. I think a lot of people are kind of like, let me wait. Let me see what the initial hype is. Let me see what the reviews say.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll just wait for it to stream and I'll support it that way. Because let's be completely honest here. And I know this, we kind of talked about this too. When has it ever been a recipe of success to take a blockbuster billion-dollar movie and follow it up with the supporting cast without the lead character? Like, when is that ever proven to be a successful way to follow up as a sequel?
I mean, that's a question for the audience.
I'm throwing it out there. Let me know, audience. When was the last time you were super excited to watch a billion-dollar movie and it did not have the lead character and only the supporting cast was going to be there? So let me give you a practical example. It's 2008. Iron Man, Tony Stark blew us all away, but Iron Man 2 is only going to be War Machine. Are you just as excited to go watch that with no Tony Stark?
All of the Disney Plus shows.
Yes.
Like, all of those shows are shows without the lead character.
No. Those are shows. I'm talking about getting up, paying top dollar, buying out a theater, going back, watching multiple times. That's what I'm talking about. I fully agree.
The closest one we're going to get is Captain America 4. That's going to be the test.
For what?
Continuing a billion-dollar franchise with a supporting character, because Civil War made $1 billion, right?
Yeah, with an ensemble. And I believe you're going to have the same thing there. I don't think you can I don't care if Anthony Mackie is like Captain America. Anthony Mackie is not box office. I don't even care if you're Marvel. You're going to have to add things around him to make it compelling. You're going to have to add Winter Soldier 110%. You're going to have to add Yelena Belova or something.
I only have one hope for Captain America 4, and that's in the end credit scene, whatever happens between Anthony Mackie and whomever he's fighting, in the end credit scene, we see Chris Evans on a helicarrier, look at the camera and say, "Hail Hydra." That's all I want.
First of all, that'd be amazing, right? That'd be amazing if, like, thanks to the multiverse of madness, this is what we end up getting. That would be dope.
I'll be cool with a cosmic cube.
I'm fine with that, but
like, they could be setting up a sentient cosmic cube story, and that would be fine.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I think that if that happens, like I've said this too, he's gonna need an ensemble. He's gonna need a huge because Falcon and Winter Soldier was not like one of the best things on Disney Plus for the Marvel shows. I mean, it was interesting, it was cool, but it wasn't
have to be an ensemble movie. For all we know, Captain America 4 is going to be our Young Avengers movie. I'm hoping that's it. Let him lead them, whatever.
Throw Shang-Chi in there. I don't know. You're gonna have to throw some things in there that distract you from Captain America, but at the same time, it's his story. But even then,
if not Wakanda Forever, right? And I understand why it will be Doctor Strange 2, but beyond that, are there any Marvel movies that are anticipated at this point?
Thor 4, Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
I think that Doctor Strange is the most anticipated. I want to see does Sam Raimi still have it? Because Sam Raimi, you're talking about somebody that made one of the greatest Spider-Man movies, comic book movies out there, and Spider-Man 2. Legendary for his Evil Dead series and
Did you see that movie he did with James Franco? Movie where it was like the Wizard of Oz. I think it was
Oh,
called Oz.
Oz. It was
Yeah,
okay. It
that
was
was
all right.
Sam Raimi's
Yeah, it was all
last
right.
film.
It was all right. But I want to see how he does with these superhero movies. I think that's more of his bread and butter. Granted, Spider-Man 3 tanked terribly, but I think
Yeah,
that was for other reasons.
Spider-Man 3 had a terrible story, but I still think, for what it's worth, it had good direction.
It tried. It tried. I think production overall failed that movie. Of course, Raimi's going to get some blame, but he's had bigger hits than fails, in my opinion. So I'm super excited to see what he has to bring in Doctor Strange. But yeah, we do have Thor coming up. I mean, Wakanda's just going to be interesting, man. Like, I think a lot of it is also going to depend on the trailer, because when you were talking about all that hype and stuff, the trailer got me excited. That was like one of the rare first trailer reactions I had ever done, and that thing got me pumped. The music, the cuts, the edits, like everything was like, I can't wait for this. So they're going to have to. I'm. That's going to be Marvel's biggest test. How are you going to market Wakanda Forever? Are you going to market the fact that you're killing off T'Challa? Are you going to market only the action and just show that? And even if you do that, sometimes that's risky, because when you over market the action and the best scenes, when you get to the movie, people are like, "Oh, you don't have nothing else to offer."
They're gonna continue to do the JJ thing, right? They're gonna do this JJ thing. They're gonna do the mystery box, right? They're gonna keep the secret, because that's a huge part of their recipe for success.
That'd be smart. That would be smart if they did that. I hope they do that.
Point that they withhold from the audience.
I hope so. I hope they, listen. I need to wait for the trailer. I can't say I'm excited for it. I mean, I'm still gonna watch it. I'm still gonna give it a shot. But
you're doing watch parties for this? This is where I'm like, man, am I that excited? Like,
that's the part I don't know. I don't know if I can do a watch party for Black Panther. I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to do it for the sake of the kids, but at the same time, I'm like, but if y'all out here killing T'Challa and stuff, like, I don't want to sit there as little kids that looked up to him are crying on stage. Like, I don't want to expose them to that.
It's gonna be rough.
It's gonna be rough one way. I don't know. Listen, I don't know. Marvel has a lot of options, and my thing is, I fully reject this idea that on one hand we saying Ryan Coogler is so great and creative, Marvel really knows what they're doing, and we limit them and say the only thing they can do is kill off T'Challa. Like, so they're not that creative then. Which one is it?
Ad nauseum about Marvel's treatment of this character.
No, you haven't. Speak
yes, I have.
Say it again.
Well, we talked about this.
Because we just talked about.
We talked about this on the last episode. We talked about this again earlier today.
Getting me pissed again. This disrespect.
This is a reminder that John Watts is the only director in MCU history to complete a trilogy of films with the same franchise.
Wow.
The Russos are the closest, because they did 2 Captain America movies and 2 Avengers movies.
And they're rumored to come back for Secret Wars.
But they haven't done a trilogy. Just John Watts.
Yeah. Well, James Gunn is about to.
I know, but just
today
in for a while, right? Because it's been. When did Guardians of the Galaxy come out?
2014.
In almost a decade.
He also got fired too.
Well,
I think if he hadn't gotten fired, we would have gotten something.
The speed in which we're getting these movies is incredible. And we used to sit here and wonder, all right, like some franchises, some companies, they sit there and they watch the box office and they're like, all right, this worked, we need to make another one of these.
Yeah.
All right. If you look back at some other studios, they're like, all right, Batman Begins work, we need to get a Dark Knight. Dark Knight work, we need to get a Dark Knight Rises. Marvel has like a really confusing approach to the way they handle Black Panther, because the way that Black Panther did such business, the way that Doctor Strange did such business, the way that some of these other characters did such business, you would think we would get some of these films sooner. And instead, we've gotten a trilogy of Spider-Man movies. A trilogy of Spider-Man movies. Can you believe that we'll have a third Ant-Man movie soon?
Ridiculous.
Like,
ridiculous. It's literally a slap in the face. It is a slap in the face of like, hey, we came through, we did all this, and this is what you're doing already.
I mean, like,
now in fairness, I will say this, in fairness, Ant-Man did come out first. Like Ant-Man had, well, the first Ant-Man was 2015. Yeah. And then the second Ant-Man was 2018.
Okay.
So in fairness, they did kind of have a head start.
Why are we getting a third Ant-Man movie though?
Because they have to talk about the multiverse.
You know, when they want to, they'll take these concepts and characters and just put them in other stuff.
Sure.
Why are we getting a third Ant-Man movie before we get?
Here's my thing. Here's my thing. Black Panther 2 should have been the very first movie in Phase 4. It should have been the very first one. Like after, clearly Black Panther happened 2018, right? You saw what was going down. You saw how 2018. That's when it came out, February 2018. You saw what was going down, and keep in mind, right in February. Infinity War was right after that. It was coming up close. I mean, you're talking about February to April or May. No, it came out in May. You know, for
I thought Captain
Infinity
Marvel
War
came out before.
No. It was Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, then Endgame.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man Far From Home. During that sweep, that was like a good at least year that you saw, oh my God, this stuff is going crazy. Black Panther done made 1.3 billion. During that time frame, y'all should have been shooting Black Panther 2. You should have been shooting it. Instead, they were working on Black Widow, and then they started working on Shang-Chi. They should have had Black Panther already in production back in 2019.
It's
right then and there. The moment y'all was done with Endgame, y'all because they shot Infinity War and Endgame back to back. The moment y'all were done with that, yo, all Wakandans hit the set. We going right now.
It's crazy to me, the effort.
And that should have been in Phase 4.
And Marvel put into Spider-Man versus Black Panther.
No. I don't doubt that the Spider-Man, I'm not mad at that because Spider-Man is still a more recognizable property.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. They don't get all of the box office for Spider-Man. They don't get all of the merchandise for Spider-Man.
No, you're right.
Black Panther.
No, they do get all the merchandise. They get the merchandise.
They didn't. Whatever.
No, they always got the merchandise.
Black Panther, to this date, as of
it's
today,
still more money,
and it has made more money than Spider-Man No Way Home.
Facts.
And they haven't fast-tracked it to the same effort that they have the Spider-Man films. That to me,
you could have saved
considering
Black
that they
Widow.
Make all the box office.
Here's the thing:
all of it.
You could have saved Black Widow. Black Widow literally could have happened. Thanks to the pandemic, we realized it didn't matter when it would have released. It never was going to make a dent in the MCU, like
Not
at all.
At this point, it should have happened during Phase 2.
It should have happened
when it
right
was like
after
when
Civil
Robert
War.
Downey Jr. No, I would have said before.
No, that's when the time.
I would have said
was.
after Iron Man 2, we should have had a Black Widow movie.
We could have had a Black Widow movie, but that Black Widow movie should have just followed up Civil War. Period. Like just time wise. But then they were investing in Shang-Chi and Eternals. All three of them movies. If you were to tell me, yo, we can postpone them, we can wait on them, it would have been fine. Black Panther 2 should have happened right after Far From Home. Nobody would have cared about Black Widow. There were no expectations with Shang-Chi, so you definitely could have waited. And Eternals, you totally could have waited, because even to this date, Eternals does not matter. Not yet.
I would have came out during the pandemic, for Black Panther 2 when I
Bro,
didn't
I would have
Black
came
Widow.
out in a whole hazmat suit. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We all would have came out for that. All of us. Here's the thing.
It's not.
As long I would have been happy that they at least shot it. At least shot it back
It's
then. So that way,
I don't,
even if it was postponed, I'd be like, yo, I'll just wear my dashiki until y'all got it ready. Just whenever.
I
At
don't
least I know it's shot.
I
And
don't
it would still be the most anticipated movie, especially if Chadwick passed and the movie shot and they just holding it.
I don't like
Yo,
I don't like Marvel's approach to these characters.
I don't like this
Not a
either.
fan of it. I'm not a
Because
fan of
it always bothered me that while they were shooting Civil War, they threw Black Panther in there as a toss in, as an add in. They didn't throw him in there as if like,
And
yo,
even then,
he's
they
gonna
were
be
way
like the
more
next Tony
excited.
Stark.
They were way more excited about Spider-Man.
They were way more excited for him. And that's the other thing I hated. I was like, yo, I personally was blowing my mind that Black Panther got added, but then y'all threw Spider-Man in and it made him almost second fiddle.
Yo,
It killed all the hype for
I-
Black Panther.
I could talk to my faces blue about their I don't want to their non-support or their lack of their interest not matching my interest for Black Panther. I can talk ad nauseum about it. I could talk about how they've treated the character historically in the comics. We've talked about it. I could talk about how they're ignoring even the billion-dollar box office and are emphasizing all these other characters that don't do the same. Thor hasn't made $1 billion at the box office. AntMan hasn't made $1 billion.
Nope.
It's and Spider-Man
what about
just
Ragnarok? Did Ragnarok? What did that?
no, it made like 800 million. It
Okay.
close, but this is No Way Home is the first Spider-Man movie to cross $1 billion. Yeah, the potential,
Which is
there.
wild, because I would have thought Spider-Man could hit $1 billion, but
I think Spider-Man 3 was the most profitable one. It was like 890 million. It was really
that sounds
close.
about right.
And if you account for inflation, it's exceeded the value. But their regard for these characters, the treatment of the Black Panther character specifically, the way they're willing to throw away all of his plot lines and storylines and then just pass them on to other characters. Namor not battling T'Challa is
I know.
painful.
It's such a waste.
T'Challa not meeting the Fantastic Four is
Or Storm.
Storm or Doctor Doom or
Oh my
any of
gosh.
these, villains.
And let me
Or
tell you, I
storyline.
have a legitimate concern that Marvel is going to continue what you're talking about in terms of placating to the audience. I think
T'Challa
they're
will
just gonna.
never meet Nick Fury.
I think they're just gonna toss us. They're just gonna toss us Star-Lord T'Challa and be like, "Hey, y'all liked him, right? All right, cool. He exists, and that's it." Like, I don't think you're going to get the
it's whatever.
solo movie. I don't think y'all about to get him. I think you're gonna get him as a supporting character. That's it.
I don't like their treatment of the character. It's definitely drained a lot of my interest for Phase 4 and 5. I don't have any same type of excitement for Mahershala and his Blade character.
Really? Oh, I'm down for that.
I mean,
I just want to see what they do with it.
so I am interested in to see what they do with the character, but Blade was announced when?
Last year, 2019. I want to say 2019, 2020.
When is it releasing?
Sometime after 2023.
So, they announced it a year or two ago, and we're
Mhm.
still a year or two away from release.
Which is actually their pattern. They usually announce
Unless it's
the
Spider-Man.
actors. They will announce the actors 2 years
Unless it's
before.
Spider-Man, right? Or unless it's something like Ant-Man or these other.
Yeah.
These movies come out quicker than Blade or a Black
Mhm.
Panther sequel.
So right now the Phase 4 is or the upcoming ones for Phase 4. We have Doctor Strange, then we have Thor 4, Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
Then in 2023 you have the Marvels, Galaxy of the Guardians of the
Guardians
Galaxy Volume 3. I think they're gonna do some Christmas special thing, and
That's this
then
year.
oh, that's this year. Okay, then
Yeah.
Ant-Man 3 is gonna happen in 2023, and then Fantastic Four, and then Blade, and then maybe Deadpool.
No,
Um,
Fantastic Four was
so
announced after Blade.
I thought it was the same time. It was like in the same
No,
press conference.
no, I'm pretty sure it was released like separate. It was like, hey, John Watts is going to do Fantastic Four, and it was separate.
Yeah, I think they announced everything in the same press conference. If I'm not mistaken. Because that was
I
the
think I
same
made
one
my
that they
point.
were like. That was the same press conference where they were like, "Oh, by the way, mutants are coming."
I
You
think
know,
I made my point. Well, we've seen mutants, but I think I've made my point about how these characters are treated. We've seen the closest that we're going to get to mutants right now, or the first one was Shriek, right, and Venom 2,
that don't count.
and then we're getting Namor.
He's
So,
not. He may or may not be a mutant.
well, he's a mutant in the comics, so we'll see.
Uh,
Anyway, that's all I had.